Grit is really perseverance and building your character and learning about who you are. Being self-reflective really allows you to know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know where you have to really work hard at and push through.
Hi, I'm Karen Gilhooly, host of Make Minutes Matter podcast. And today, my guest is Marie Letko. Marie is the owner-operator of a firm in Riverside, California called Cabinet Resources. And while that may not sound like it's applicable to all the people out there in viewing land, Marie actually has some very interesting insights to share with us today about her journey in becoming a female entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Also, she's got some insights to share with us about working with multi-generational people in the workforce today and some of the things that we need to be conscious of when we're working together collaboratively to make something good happen in the world. So, Marie, welcome.
Thank you, Karen. It's wonderful to be here. I'm very excited to be part of your podcast.
Thank you. Well, why don't we get started by just talking a little bit about how we know each other, because I didn't put that into the intro. So I'll just give one line, and then I'll let you finish up from there. So Marie and I are actually cousins, and we grew up in very different places. So I grew up in Chicago. Marie grew up out here in California, which is where we're filming today, and had a very different life because of being so close to all the beautiful things that are here in this lovely state of California. So, Marie, we both know each other. How was it to grow up out here in California?
Well, it's all I knew. So for me, California was a wonderful place to be because we had sunshine 360 days a year. We didn't know what it was like to be closed up in the winter. It left us a lot of possibilities to learn and explore outside. I learned how to ski, spent time at the beach, enjoyed the desert as well. So there's also a great diversity in California too. So being a coastal community, it lends itself to all kinds of people coming into our state. And so our neighborhood was very diverse, and that was so interesting because we learned so much about different cultures. And as I remember our trips back to Chicago in the summer to visit you and all our beautiful cousins, how life was different. It was different, and the neighborhoods were different, and much more, you knew your neighbors more, I think, growing up in the Midwest, where here there was a lot more change and movement. So keeping relationships was harder because people were more transient. So, but it was wonderful, and I'm still here because of that.
Yeah.
It's my home. My family's all here for the most part. There's a few that moved back out of state, but for the most part, we're all here in the Riverside area.
6 kids in the family, plus mom and dad, all piled up into the station wagon, traveling cross country.
Oh, yes.
And the thing that I remember so much about when you would come into town is there were 2 things. First of all, there were so many of you.
There was a lot of us.
There were a lot of you. And second, you were very self-engaging. What I mean by that is you weren't looking for people to keep you busy. You found ways to keep your minds occupied. You were very collaborative as a young family. You loved to sing. You loved to play practical jokes on each other. Your dad was the biggest prankster of them all. And I just remember fondly a lot of those times, which really sets us up for what we're going to talk about today. So I grew up in one place, you grew up in another, but yet despite those differences, I think that we both gained a healthy appreciation of work and what it means to go to work. And I'd like to spend some time today talking about that concept because I think over the past several years, I won't say how many, that word work has actually gotten a little bit of a dirty name to it. And it really doesn't have to be. So why don't we start by talking about your first job? Tell me a little bit about that.
My first job. I will never forget my first job. First of all, it was the summer of my freshman year. My sister, which I have a twin sister, Karen knows, there's another one of me. And we just finished our freshman year of high school. survived that, and we were so excited to spend the summer at the beach with our friends and having just a relaxing time. And my dad came home one evening right after we finished school and said, well, I got you both jobs, and you start Monday. We were like, what? So I said, well, Dad, what are you going to be doing? He goes, they'll tell you what you're going to be doing. Here's the address, just show up, and you'll find out. So not only did we have to spend the first 2 months of our summertime off working, it also started, we had to get up at 5:30 in the morning because our job was at 7, and it was not more than probably 5 miles from where we're at right now. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning, we had to be at the downtown. I mean, getting up at 5:30 in the morning to be there. So
Downtown
LA. So
oh my goodness.
we were only, like I said, 5 miles probably from where we're at now, and LA looked very different then, of course. So we end up at this warehouse. We walk in, and there's nothing but these just miles of tables and all these file folders on them and stacked with all kinds of paperwork inside. And what our job was to do was to go through these files. We had to open them up and take out staples, paper clips, straighten all the wrinkles out, clean up all the dog ears, and prepare all these papers to be photographed. My father at that time was selling microfiche, which was a state-of-the-art product at the time, which meant that a warehouse, a 100,000 square foot warehouse that housed all these files could now be filmed and stored into file drawers. So it was big technology back in the early 70s. I don't think anybody would probably recognize that name now, but so our job was to prepare all this paperwork, and we spent the whole day, 8 hours, doing nothing but going through these files, pulling out staples. First break, my sister and I thought we were going to lose our minds. We could not believe that we were going to be stuck doing this for 2 months. And we said, well, Dad got us a job, and we have to make him proud, so we're just going to push through this and do our best and make the best of a situation. So we looked at the glass half full. After a few days, we bagged our lunch and met at the lunch table and got to know some of the people there. A lot of them were women. And I remember asking, the first person I remember asking, this young woman, and I said, so how long have you been working here? And she said, I've been here 4 months. And I said, so what do you think of it? She said, this is the best job I ever had.
Oh my goodness.
And I was stunned when she said that. And she said, I'm getting paid 20 cents more an hour, and I get to go home and be with my family, and I'm not tired. I said, well, what did you used to do before this? She said, I worked cleaning houses. And so I asked other ladies sitting next to her, introduced ourselves. And I said, what did you do? I used to work in a hotel and clean rooms. I used to wash dishes in a restaurant. And so these ladies saw this opportunity that they could make more money doing a job that didn't break their back, that didn't exhaust them, so they could come home and spend better quality time with their family, cook meals, enjoy their life, and help their families out. And it was so eye-opening to me that we looked at a job being so menial and how important it was to these people working here, and how this job meant so much to them, and how they saw such opportunity. And it pulled them out of one situation and put them in a much better position. And I never forgot that lesson. I looked at every little task I had to do in a job after that as a stepping stone to moving forward, and looking for the better in that, and what can I learn from it, what can I take from it. I learned empathy and how compassion can take you so far forward into pushing through jobs that are tough, that are hard to learn, that are redundant, but necessary steps in the ladder to move forward in your career.
Yeah.
So it was a big lesson, and I still kind of chuckle and smile about that first employment.
It is funny. I mean, one person's challenge is another person's beautiful opportunity.
Right.
I mean, to see that and to learn that such an early age.
Early age. I was very grateful to learn that at
Yeah,
early
you were
age.
very lucky. Your dad was a pretty wise guy.
He was.
Not just he was successful in business, but I also think he was a champion of the human spirit. He really,
I would agree.
and he was very focused on you guys, your kid, your family, your brothers and sisters, and making sure that they had the tools to be able to enter the workforce the right way. You mentioned something that really struck me, this idea that you wanted your father to be proud of you. Talk a little bit about that, what that means to have pride in one's work, because I think that, again, that's something that's, I'm not saying that it's completely absent from today's world, but it's definitely not where it should be, I think, in order to really drive some
Right.
great results.
We all have people in our lives, if we look even. Sometimes we have to look hard. But there's people in our lives that can inspire us and promote us. And we were very fortunate to have parents that were hardliners. They drew the line on right and wrong and what was expected of us, but also allowed us to challenge ourselves on what we could do. And my dad was a very positive person. I'm much more pragmatic, I think. It took me more work to learn to be more positive. But in being pragmatic, I looked at my options and kind of moved forward. But Dad was my biggest inspiration in my work. The job I had after my second job,
Between sophomore and
sophomore
junior.
year, exactly, summer, I got work at a supermarket.
Step up.
Step up. It was definitely a step up. And not only that, I loved that job. I was a bagger. I bagged groceries, can you believe it? And I actually loved it.
It was my coveted job, actually. I was working at the McDonald's, and all my friends, many of my friends, I should say, had an opportunity to work at the grocery store across the street. Oh, they had it so good. So tell me why you loved me at the grocery store. Maybe
Well,
that
first of all, I was making
validate me.
75 cents more an hour than anybody else because it was a union position.
Yes, okay.
And I was so excited to have that job because it had freedom. I got to be around people. I became the best bagger ever because I'm a very organized person, and to me, that was something that I could have control over. So my bags always looked fantastic because the eggs were always on top and not at the bottom, and I just had a natural sense of organization. And so I knew I could master this task, and I met all kinds of different people from the neighborhood, friends that shop there, and also new people that were just so interesting. I just find people so interesting. So what I learned from that position was that I like to be mobile, and I like to be around people. And my career's in sales, of course.
Yeah.
And so there you go. And I have a company that I rep products and present them and train people on the products. And so I have a lot of diversity in my job title, and it challenged me my whole career and still does. And so my father was also in sales, and so we had that bond as I grew up in my career, that he could mentor me, and I learned how gracious he was with everyone, that he made everybody feel like they're the most special person in the room. And it was never about him, it was about them. It was really not even about the product so much, it was about them. And that really does set the framework of connecting with people and allowing people to feel safe in opening up and ask questions, not be afraid to hold back and say, I'm not as smart as her, so I can't ask a question, for instance. Or I should know this so I don't feel like I can approach Marie because she knows so much, and she'll probably think that I'm not a good candidate
Right.
to do this. So that's what my father instilled really good work ethics. We always had jobs at home. We had responsibilities from a young age. We were expected to do our homework, expected to get grades because my parents knew what we were capable of. And so, and they were diverse too. They had friends. Our community was very tight, even though we didn't have any relatives out here in California. They developed our family of friends that were very tight-knit. And all the people in my life, I was very self-aware at an early age, even before working, about who I was as a person, and I was lucky to have that. I didn't understand that that was a launching pad for me to be successful in life, though. It took me longer in my career to realize that being self-reflective really allows you to know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know where you have to really work hard at and push through, and be empathetic.
Yeah.
So you can understand the world around you and not have expectations that aren't real.
You know, you bring up some really great points there. So, Marie, if someone wanted to talk with you either about cabinets or about any of the things that we talked about today, where would they find you?
Well, they'd find me on LinkedIn
Okay.
under Cabinet Resources, and they could certainly reach out. I'm so passionate about mentoring and helping, especially this younger generation coming in, that I'm learning from, because they operate very different. So they teach me a lot about technology, and I'm Mama Bear coming in to help a lot of post students, right, into this career. And I get such reward from it. And I feel that if I have all this curated talent, and if I left it on the table as I exit my career, what a failure that would be at the end of my career.
Very sad. Very
Yes.
sad.
And so I am enjoying these last years of my career by helping those and passing it forward and watching them grow.
That's wonderful. That is just wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you were here.
Thank you so much.
And I
It was
hope
a
you'll
pleasure.
come back.
I would love to come back.
Wonderful. Well,
Yes.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Make Minutes Matter. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or click the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And let me know what you thought of today's conversation by following us on Instagram at Karen Gilhooly 1. That's Karen, Karen, Gilhooly, Gilhooly, and the number 1. Let's make every moment in your career truly matter. Have a great day.